Man, I'm having some real technical difficulty here today. But I'm sitting outside because I'm bored and the weather is actually decent. It's warm, but in the shade it doesn't feel uncomfortable. So, I just thought I would sit out here to clear my head. I've been really stressed out because my husband is away at work, and where he is right now has such poor reception that we're not able to video chat. So that's made it a little rougher than usual because we're so used to seeing each other's faces and hearing each other's voices that it just feels very weird only being able to have spotty phone calls. He is doing work with a subcontractor for PG&E, so it's great work, but unfortunately his shifts are 12 hours long and he's walking up and down mountains in 90-degree weather and hotter. So he's having a bit of a hard time, and I'm just on here to try and get some empathy from those of you who have had experience with their spouse being away for work. I'm so used to, and Sadie has had a very difficult time adjusting to Matt not being here. Sadie, come here. Come here. Here's the pretty girl now. Yeah. Sadie, I love you. Don't worry about her. She's very good at staying on our property line whenever she's outside with one of us. I just feel bad that I can't take her to the dog park anymore. She used to go often, but unfortunately, she had some bad experiences with other dogs, and so she took it upon herself to be the first one to cause trouble instead of having it happen to her. But for now, the front yard is pretty nice for her, and in the shade, it's comfortable for me. And in the meantime, I'm just trying to not let myself get too stir crazy without Matt around, and me being not well enough to have a job to keep me busy. Sadie, come here. Unfortunately, our neighbors have this lovely habit of letting their two little ankle biters roam the front yard untethered all day. There have been a couple times when they tried to run onto our property line to tell Sadie to go away, or whatever dogs would say to each other. So, otherwise, I really don't know what else to talk about except having Matt away at work is hard, and knowing he's having a rough time with this new job doesn't make it easier. So, yeah, Kelly, I'm aware that it's not legal to have your dogs running out, but I'm just in a frame of mind where, unless it's a true danger, it doesn't really bug me. Hello, Justin. Yeah, Kelly, I'm aware that I can sue if they come and bite. They've already tried to cross our property line twice. The way I'm going to handle it is if they do it again, I will address the neighbors about it, but at this point, I have bigger stressors on my mind than what a couple of little neighbor dogs do. I've reapplied for disability, so we'll see how that goes. This time, I was able to have them get even more medical records, and they sent me additional paperwork a few days after I had the in-person application, asking more questions about my headaches and about my ability to function as an adult. You know, basic self-care and driving habits and things like that. So I'm just waiting to see what they decide. But at this point, I'm just trying to trust that if I do truly need it, I will get it. And if I don't get it, that means I don't truly need it. Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate that. Definitely would help. Otherwise, my life is pretty boring at the moment. I used to love socializing and going out to people's houses or other public places. But now I'm just like, if you want to come over and watch Netflix with me or YouTube, feel free, but I don't feel like going away from home. I don't know if that's part of my anxiety flaring up or if I'm just really lazy. Yeah, that's basically all that's going on. Thankfully, I'm able to take medication to get my appetite back under control. I have lost a little weight again, which I don't want to do, but I'm starting to be able to handle 2 full meals a day, so that's a good start for me. And I appreciate all the prayers that you guys have prayed for Matt and myself. It really means a lot. And I just want to ask that you pray that Matt will know what he needs to do with this job. He's confided in me that work has been much more difficult than he expected, and that physically he's having a rough time keeping up with it. He's hesitant to quit because he knows this job is a great opportunity. But it is more than he anticipated, so he could use some prayers that God would help him adjust, at least temporarily, and then be able to decide whether or not to stay with this job or pursue something else. In the meantime, I'm just trying to keep my mind from getting so bored that I have nothing to do except overthink. And regarding my depression and anxiety, they are back. I am in therapy for it. Unfortunately, my therapist is so busy that I only can set appointments with her for once a month. But I know I do have many friends out here who care and are praying, and knowing that really does make a difference. Kelly, I appreciate the offer of sending money, but I couldn't ever pay it back. We're still waiting on Matt to get his first paycheck by Friday. So hopefully we'll be able to start fixing some of our money issues over time. But not a whole lot else is going on, really. My grandparents on both sides are getting worse. I know I've mentioned it a bit before that my dad's parents are in assisted living right now, but they're having a rough time. So it's looking like they may need to be moved to memory care or more advanced assisted living. My grandpa apparently has been falling through the cracks with their care. They're supposed to get this thing called the Happy Light, and the best way I can describe it is it's a light that gets put on in the room for a certain amount of time at a certain time each day, and the lights are supposed to help the brain function better. There's been a few times when they didn't use that, and then my grandpa wandered into another person's room in the middle of the night. Very upsetting for everybody. So it's looking possible that they may need to just find a different place to live. And it's been very stressful for my dad and his 2 sisters. trying to figure out what is best for their parents. So I would always appreciate prayer for that. And it seems that my mom's dad is experiencing early stages of Alzheimer's. Sadie, come here. You know what? I'm going to put you in the house. Just so... Oh, you want to stay here? This stinker likes to wander all around our yard, which is fine, but those little dogs are on the loose. They're staying on their property so far, but... Anyways, my mom's dad has had a total personality shift from who he was 5 years ago. He used to be very outgoing, outspoken, not afraid to be bold about things, and he was always very close to the family, always there. And now he's become withdrawn, quiet, and full of anxiety to the point where we only see him a few times a year for family gatherings, and even those are kept under 3 hours long. Hello, Sai. So it's just hard knowing that the grandpa I have now is not the one that I grew up with, and he's not the parent that my mom grew up with either. So it's in the back of my head that since I have a history of mental deterioration on both sides of my parents' family, it's occurred to me that that may be my future, assuming this world lasts long enough for us to see that. So it's just really hard when someone that you love and care about changes to someone that you don't recognize anymore. And yes, this is live. I'm just looking to have some people to talk to right now. Keep my mind off of everything. And so most of my anxiety and depression come from worrying about other people, not myself. And I'm trying to find new hobbies and other things that can keep my mind busy without it being a physical strain on me. So any suggestions you guys have, I'd greatly appreciate. I've started messing with my hair color again. I went a little blonder this time, but it didn't quite work out. It looks great on camera, but in person the ends are a light to medium brown while my roots are like super blonde. So later on I'm going to try to fix that with a bit of vitamin C dissolved in hot water and have that mixed with a dandruff shampoo. I am no hair expert, and I admit I've messed my hair up quite a bit. Hi, Sir Babs. So stay tuned for me making a video about making a hot paste with vitamin C and mixing that with dandruff shampoo to try to strip hair color. I've tried the baking soda and dandruff shampoo remedy. It does help. I do recommend it if you've gotten a bad dye job, but it's most effective if your dye job is recent. Thank you, Sai. I am trying to be strong, and I'm trying to focus on the good of the situation with my husband working away from home, but it's very difficult. And I do know that my grandparents are in good hands, but that doesn't mean I don't worry about them still. And it's just my tendency to control things. Sadie, stay here. Sadie, come here. Come here. Hey! Neighbor just got home, and I don't want them being afraid that Sadie's gonna run up to them. Thank you, Sai. I appreciate the prayers. It really does mean a lot to me. And I mostly just ask that my grandparents would continue to get the care they need, and that Matt would know what to do regarding the job, and that I would stop worrying about other people. Sir Babs, this is Miss Sadie. Hey. I know. Ignore the neighbor. Look at me. Stinker. Say hi. Sadie. What? Sadie, give me kisses. Hey. Sadie, give me kisses. Good girl. I love you too. Yes, Sadie is my fur baby. Thank you, Sir Babs. I appreciate the prayers too. Yeah, she's almost 3 years old. She is a mix of 4 high energy breeds. She is part German Shorthair Pointer, Australian Cattle Dog, Australian Kelpie, Australian Shepherd, according to one of my closest friends who rescued her. Some of you don't know this, but my friend rescued her from a drug house. Basically, they were using and manufacturing while Sadie, all her siblings, and their mother were being neglected. They never fed the animals, so it was up to the mom to hunt and bring the kills back to her pups to feed them. So this pretty girl had a rough start in life. She was rescued when she was a few months old by one of my closest friends. He took her and all her siblings and their mom, was able to find different homes for them, except no one took Sadie for whatever reason. But that worked out perfectly because when my Darcy bear passed away a few years ago, he told me that he was very sorry for my loss. He knows the pain, and that he knows having another dog won't make the pain of losing Darcy go away, but it'll help. And so he gave her to us, and she's been the best dog we've had since we lost Darcy. So we're very thankful. Yeah, Sir Babs, I can't imagine being a trashier person and letting your animals have to fend for themselves. Hello, Shade on a Cool Day. I don't believe we've interacted before, but I'm from Central California. Thank you for the compliment. Sai, yes, she's very happy. She's a very spoiled girl. She does hear the word no, but only when she's naughty, which is very rare. She's one of the smartest dogs that we've ever had. Oh, what do you see? What? What do you see? What? Is that a bird? Are you looking at a bird? One of my favorite things about her is that one ear that doesn't fully stand up. So, yes, Sai is correct. I am married. So, I'm spoken for. Shade on a Cool Day, I know that feeling. 3 years ago, I went through a very, very traumatic breakup with the guy I thought I was going to marry. And I became suicidal shortly after that, too. The breakup wasn't the reason why, but it was the final straw. And without making this about me, I have multiple medical issues that make functioning as a productive adult in society damn near impossible. Just to list a few things, I have advanced scoliosis, I have crooked knees, and I have migraines, anxiety, depression, celiac disease, which is an intestinal disease where if I eat gluten, my body attacks itself, and continued gluten exposure ultimately leads to death by malnutrition. So I've had to be gluten-free, and I also have a couple other gut problems as well. And having all that made life rough, but then the breakup, that was it. I couldn't take anymore. But I got help. I started seeing a therapist. I started being more open about my struggle with others. And I started to see a psychiatrist as well. I got on the right medications, and I've gotten substantially better. And for a while, I was in full remission of my anxiety and depression, but a lot of crazy stuff has happened this year. And so it's resurfaced. But this time around, I know what to do about it. I am seeing a therapist. I am taking over-the-counter mood stabilizing medication like L-theanine. It's a green tea derivative, and it's got no side effects at all because it comes from green tea. And I find that it helps me stay more emotionally level throughout the day. So you might give that a try. I can't guarantee it'll fix you, but it might make a difference. I know when I don't take it, I am much more prone to going on an emotional roller coaster. But the L-theanine kind of helps it stay a little more level. Yeah, Sir Babs, anxiety is awful. And shade on a cool day, I'm sorry that you can't see a therapist, but a counselor is helpful too. One of the big things about being suicidal that people don't tell you is it's not the urge to kill yourself, it's the wish to just stop feeling the pain and seeing no other way out. And the TV star Jared Padalecki and his Just Keep Fighting campaign against suicidal depression has really helped me, because Sadie, come here. Hey, come here. Sadie. She's wandering a little too close to the border of our yard for my own comfort. Sadie, come here. Come on. Stay here. Good girl. Where you going? What you doing? You stay here. So anyways, yeah, Sir Babs and Cy, it's impossible to live life without being messed up to some degree. Some of us suffer worse than others, but that doesn't make us weaker than others. I'm reminded of an old cartoon drawing I saw of two foxes. One of them is like a baby fox with a single arrow in its back, and it's collapsed. And the other is an adult with like 10 arrows, and it's barely standing. And basically the point of that picture is that we all suffer. It's just each of us handles suffering differently. And some of us cannot handle as much as others. I'm going to put Sadie back inside because she seems bored. But thank you, Cy. Okay. I had technical difficulties, so sorry about that, but thank you for sticking around. Hello, Alexander. Sir Babs, yeah, I used to be one of those happy-go-lucky people. Always excited over little things, but now I'm more of a realist. And I appreciate good things when they happen, but I'm not super bubbly all the time anymore. Life has a way of beating that out of you over time. Anyways, as I was saying about anxiety, depression, and being suicidal, all of us experience suffering in one way or another. Some of us more than others. But at the end of the day, the only way things can get better is if you keep trying and you be open about it with your friends and family who you know love and care about you and who you can trust. And if you're a Christian or Bible believer like I am, you can always talk to your pastor or church leadership about your struggles. And if it's a chemical imbalance, there's medication. When it's almost impossible, there's a suicide hotline that you can call or text. I know some of us are not good at making phone calls, So it's nice to know that they have a texting option available. But you can always talk to your friends and your family, and they will help you. And family isn't always just people that are related to you. Family is the people that you know are in your life because they choose to be, and who will consistently be by your side, whether things are amazing or terrible. And another thing that I've learned from my depression and anxiety struggle is when you go through it, it's a pretty good filter to see who your real friends and family are. I've had a few people in my life that act like they get it and that they understand. But when I wasn't getting better, they got tired and they walked away. And I don't fault them for it. Sometimes people get what's called compassion fatigue, where they focus so intensely on helping others that they get burnt out and they just can't handle anything else. And other times it's just people can be selfish. They see you as the means to an end, whether it's getting help with physical things like money or possessions or social status, or be careful about who you open up to, because not everyone that listens to you is your friend. And I recently heard that a former friend of mine is making some really terrible life decisions lately. And while I don't like that friend at all anymore, it's still sad to hear that a fellow human is in a self-destructive cycle. So another thing I want to encourage you guys is that when someone walks away from you, it's normal to want to have negative feelings towards them so you don't miss them as much. But after a certain point, you have to just let it all go and pray for them. I find that when I pray for people that have upset me or hurt me, it helps me feel more at peace, because I'm handing my negative emotions over to God. And not only does it help the person that you're praying for, but I find that it changes your perspective over time and how you view the other person. I find that when I pray for people that I can't stand anymore, it helps me soften up towards them, so that whenever they do cross my mind, I don't feel such strong negative emotions that I normally would have felt. And I know not all of you that watch believe in prayer. And I do pray that you find your way. But I'm not going to act like prayer is the only thing that fixes everything. There are practical means towards getting better. Thank you, Sai. It was very nice seeing you, and I hope you have a good day. Hi, Ronaldo. I haven't seen you in a while. I've been trying to be more active on YouTube, but it's not always easy. Hello, Nick. It's nice to know that you're a longtime viewer. I'm feeling very fatigued, but I'm hanging in there. After that shave, my face does feel very smooth. It was an experience shaving my face, but I don't see myself doing it again. I'm sorry to hear about you being dumped too. And Miscreant, I am, believe it or not, 28 years old. I've been told I look 18 and that I should be a narc, so I always find that amusing. But back to what I was talking about. It's hard when you're the one dealing with depression, because you want to be understood and supported fully. But you also have to consider it from the viewpoint of those around you that care about you and want to help. It can be very overwhelming. I know that when I had friends dealing with depression before I ever did, I wanted to help them badly, but I wasn't sure how. And if you have people in your life that have never dealt with it, don't be surprised if they act a little confused by what they're hearing. A lot of experiences in life are the kind that you have to go through yourself before you can understand how someone else going through it may feel. So whenever you're dealing with anyone that's struggling, just try to be compassionate. Try to show them understanding and empathy to your best ability. And let them know that their bad days are not going to scare you off from trying to help them. And one practical way I handle my anxiety is I ask myself a few questions. The first one I always ask myself is, what am I feeling anxiety about? Oh, miscreant, I'm 28 years old. But when I'm having an anxiety attack, I ask myself, what am I having anxiety about? The second thing I ask myself is this thing I'm feeling anxiety about something that's in my control? And then thirdly, if it is something in my control, what can I do about it? And I find that asking myself those things really does help me get a grasp, and it does help me calm down. Oh, look, 13. Thank you. I got the Maryland haircut because I was tired of long hair in the hot summer weather. I am a stay-at-home wife. I'm physically not well enough to have a job. So on days that I am healthy, I help with housework. That's about all I do. Some anxiety attacks happen for no apparent reason. And when you ask yourself, what am I anxious about? You may have a hard time coming up with an answer. And when that's the case for me, I try to tell myself that if I don't know what it is, then it's probably not real. And then if my husband is at home, I'll tell him, hey, I'm feeling anxious for no reason. Can you help me? And he'll often deal with the same thing, feeling anxiety for no known reason. And so when that happens, it's always helpful to have your loved one make it clear that they are there for you, they are ready to listen, and just have some distractions planned. Like if you're the kind that enjoys board games, break out the board games for your loved one. And if that doesn't work, I would try to encourage them to go outside just to sit and get some fresh air. And I know this may sound like I'm endorsing alcoholism, but I am not. However, I know that sometimes for me, one small glass of wine will help when I'm feeling anxiety. But it just depends on the cause of your anxiety. So, yes, miscreant, I went to a community college for a couple of years for business classes. I'm glad I didn't go to university, otherwise the expenses I would have paid for business classes would have been a waste. Well, fresh air is a relative term, miscreant. In Central California, the air quality is not the best, but it could somehow be worse. But I just find that sitting outside in the shade when there's a light breeze going can be very calming. And I recently got prescribed medical cannabis Some of you think it should only be medical. Some of you don't think it should even be legal for medical use. Others of you support it being fully legal across all boards. Regardless of where you stand, I'm just here to say that it has helped me. I don't use it to get high. I use it to help with appetite stimulation and anxiety control. Because I get the kind of anxiety that makes me physically unable to sit still. And I feel like my skin is crawling with ants, and I feel this fight or flight reflex out of nowhere. And I find that if I just sit outside, have a short smoke, drink a lot of water, and just try to breathe in the relatively fresher air, it helps. David Arndt. Yeah, anxiety, panic attacks, PTSD. Sometimes a couple beers helps with that too. And thank you, Miscreant. I'm putting this out there not for sympathy, but just so that the rest of you having similar struggles will understand that you're not by yourself. I've gone through it, and I am going through it. So I can relate to whatever you may be feeling. Maybe not on the exact same level, but anxiety and depression are still very real no matter how much you deal with it. David Arndt, I use CBD oil every day, regardless of whether I need to smoke or not. I usually take 10 drops, hold it under my tongue for about half a minute, and then I drink some water with it. I've noticed it does help with my headaches. It does help with some of my joint pains. I have bad knees and a bad back. So I find that it kind of helps take some of the edge off. And when that's not enough, I will smoke a little bit. And a few years ago, I was adamantly against marijuana use unless it was for medical reasons, like you have cancer or some other horribly painful disease. But now that I've actually given it a chance, I find it really does make a difference. It calms my anxiety attacks. It brings my appetite back up to a healthy level. And it helps me lose that feeling of I have to get out of here, I have to go somewhere, but I don't know where I have to go or why I have to go. It helps me to just relax, calm down, and get control over myself again. Yeah, David, CBD does help. Miscreant, I'm sorry about your addiction. It's a tough one to handle, but there are resources to help you out. Miscreant, it's hard to describe the taste, but to me it smells like pine, or like I'm deep in the woods. And my husband finds that description funny because he says I say all of it smells like pine. But it depends on the strain that you get. I'm by no means an expert. I just barely got my medical card. So I can't tell you all about the different strains. But I can tell you that there are doctors out there that you can consult with, and they can help recommend what will help you. David, yeah, having it illegal across the board, I don't know how I feel about that. I'm tired of the government telling everyone what they can and cannot do regarding everything. Like here in California, I'm not legally allowed to collect rainwater. Yeah. And just a whole bunch of other crazy rules, and I think the less government control over things, the better. But I am glad to hear that it is legal for medical use in Florida. Miscreant, our government loves to control everything that we citizens do. You can't collect rainwater. But, oh, and you have to get a fishing license, because if you go fishing without the license, you get arrested or fined. Let me see what else. You're not legally allowed to have a certain number of people living in your home with you without declaring it like a halfway house or something crazy. But you can take a dump and shoot up heroin in the streets in San Francisco, but you can't use a plastic straw. So I'm against the government overreach in every aspect of our lives, and I honestly wish that the prison system would let go all inmates that are there just because of marijuana related things, like selling or using. It's a plant. It's not a synthetic drug that has to undergo different processes to make it usable. It's literally a plant. So I support medical use because it benefits me, and I know it benefits many others. And I get my CBD oil on Top Hatter, honestly, because we're too broke at the moment to afford it from a pharmacy. But it does help. It does have a lot of benefits. David Arndt. I imagine watching Cops or anything like that after having a little smoke would be a little more intense. It's pretty funny. Yeah, David, I've heard of those categories of videos, but I've never actually given it a shot. I find that when I've had a little smoke, I am an overthinker. Like, my brain, it just goes into overdrive. Not in an anxiety related way, but like, my mind is a computer that is running too fast. And it's just a weird state to be in. And like I said, I know some of you don't support use of it for any reason. Some of you only support medical reasons, and some of you want it fully legal. Wherever you are on that board, I think as long as we can all agree to mind our own business and make sure that we don't do anything dangerous, it's fine. I don't use it to get high. Like I said, I only use it to stimulate my appetite and to help get my anxiety under control. It has a sedative effect on me, so it helps me to calm down and relax, stop worrying about every tiny thing, and to just eat like a healthy adult should. Yeah, Miscreant, I support a limited government, like what America's founding fathers had in mind. I don't think the government should be able to tell you what you do on your own property unless it involves harming other people or other living things. I know like 10 years ago or something, this farmer was running his tractor on his property and he ran over some endangered kangaroo rat, and he just about lost his farm. I love animals, and I believe they all should be treated with love and respect. And okay, I lost a connection for a bit. David, anytime you do smoke, you are gonna get a little high. It's like drinking. It depends on how much you use it. I try to limit myself to 1 or 2 puffs whenever I do need it, because I don't like the feeling of being really high. I just don't enjoy it. I start to get into that paranoid feeling, and it's just really unpleasant. So I try to treat it like any medication, taking as close to the same amount each time as I can. So I do feel a mind change every time I do use, which is inevitable, but that is not why I use it. Yes, miscreant, if you just do a simple Google search on crazy laws in the US, your mind will be blown and you will be amazed at how much the government has a say in what we do with our lives. More and more, I'm wishing I could have several $1,000,000 so I could buy my own island, let my closest friends and family live there, and we'd have our own system of rules. David, yeah, it's just not a fun feeling for me. So that's why I limit my intake to be just enough to where I feel relief from the negative symptoms without feeling like I purposefully got super high. I know some people like the feeling. I'm just not one of those people. And I believe in never letting yourself get so affected by any substance that you lose control over what you say and do. Because I think if an emergency were to happen, you should not let yourself be so drunk or so high that you can't save yourself from a situation. I have the mindset that you should use everything with moderation. Anytime you have too much of anything, it's not a good thing. But yeah, now you guys are aware that I'm a medical cannabis user, so don't feel ashamed or embarrassed if you have to use it but don't like using it. If it wasn't for my anxiety and my appetite issues, I probably wouldn't smoke. But that's just me. If any of you want to discuss that more in the live chat, go for it. At this point, I'm just sitting outside, trying to keep my mind occupied so that I won't be overthinking the multiple issues going on in and around my life. What else can be discussed? On a different note, I am amazed at how fast this year is going by. It doesn't feel like it's already approaching the last week of August. But whenever I do check the calendar because I have some event coming up, it seems like the days can't go by fast enough. I guess it's kind of like saying the watched pot never boils. I don't really have a whole lot coming up anytime soon, except when my husband does come back this weekend from work, hopefully, I may be going up with him the next time he takes off for work. We just have to wait and see how much he gets paid this payday and where he'll be sent off to. Thank you, Mr. Grant. I just think that a lot of people overindulge in a lot of things, and that's why the world has so many problems, because people don't know how to limit themselves. And it's just a shame what people have let themselves turn into. I just think if everyone's parents had taught them self-control and how to moderate yourselves, this world would be a better place. On Facebook, I found the group Entitlement is a Disease. It is a great page for reading negative reviews from people that think they're entitled to everything just because they exist. Like, I've seen posts about people complaining about restaurants because they didn't get so many free refills of this or that, or how dare they shut the door on me 5 minutes before closing, and how dare this trip be canceled early because of weather-related problems. You know, it's a really fun place to go if you want to feel better about yourself. um, and there's also the choosing beggars section of Reddit. I always find that amusing too. Like, I've seen screenshots of people that posted something for free, and yet someone has the audacity to ask for them to deliver that free item too. And I think this world is in such deep trouble because a lot of parents of the last 2 generations didn't know how to tell their kids no, because they want to be their kid's friend, not the parent. And I was raised to believe that you do what your parents tell you, you listen to what the authorities tell you, unless they're telling you to do something that you truly know is wrong. And I got spanked when I was disobedient of my parents. And I only needed to get spanked like 5 times in my childhood that I can remember. Because you can't discipline a child and have them stop bad behavior if you don't punish them for it. Discipline isn't supposed to feel good. And a lot of people are just too afraid to make their kids mad at them. Miscreant. Oh, that's a tough situation to be in. Having low university grades and not knowing what to tell your folks. I was a homeschool kid from the start of 2nd grade until I completed 8th grade. So I was taught how to learn new material, not how to do well on tests. And I was taught to do the work myself. And if I get confused or not sure of what to do, then I ask for help. I don't just rely on others to do the work for me. I would just be honest with your parents and tell them, look, Mom, Dad, I love you, but I have some bad news for you. I'm not doing so well in university, and just see what they say. Hopefully, your parents are the types that will understand as long as you tell them before they find out on their own. But in either case, I will keep you in my prayers that you would be able to have that conversation. One thing I know from experience is that it's much worse for someone to find out about what you did wrong than it is for you to come clean first. Because when you come clean first, you let the other person know that you're telling them the truth. You're not trying to hide it from them. And it generally goes better. But when they find out something bad, they'll think they're not going to be able to trust you, and it'll be a lot more difficult to get them to believe you the next time you do try to be upfront about something. So if I were you, Miss Green, I would tell them as soon as you can, and just be honest. David, I tried my very best to obey my parents at all times because I hated getting spanked. That's why I got spanked so few times, because I knew I would get 1 or 2 warnings. And if I didn't stop doing a bad behavior or start doing a good one, I knew what punishment was coming. And I wanted to avoid the punishment as much as I could. Yeah, David, I would assume it would be different for me since I'm a woman. And I don't like getting in trouble. But I know a lot of men and boys can find the thrill of being in trouble fun. Or see if I can get away with this or that. You know, the thrill of it. I never had that thrill. So I tried my best to just stick to doing what my parents told me to do. And I had fewer problems when I did that. And so that's why I got in trouble so few times. Trying to think of what else can be talked about. Yeah, David. I know some people are good at being sneaky and other people not so much. I tried to be sneaky a few times, but it never paid off, so I stopped trying. One time when I was little, I think I was in kindergarten or first grade, I took a couple bucks from my mom's purse because I wanted the chocolate milk at school. And for some reason, I didn't think about asking her to just get me the chocolate milk. I thought she would say no. And so I took a couple bucks from her wallet, and then later I told her, I took a couple bucks from your wallet, I'm sorry. Because I knew eventually she would find it, and then she'd have to ask me about it. And that would just be a lot more difficult. So I was one of the few kids that would rat myself out in fear of them finding out first. It's funny, the things that we think of as kids. This breeze feels nice. It feels like it's in the low 80s right now with the shade and the breeze going, but I'm sure it's probably a little warmer than that. Oh, yes, David. I also got the paddle. And if we were away from home and the paddle wasn't an option, I got the open hand butt slap. And my parents were always careful to only use enough force to cause me great discomfort, not leaving any marks or anything like that. It wasn't abuse. It was simply physical correction for disobeying. And I just wish a lot more parents would have spanked their kids when they acted out instead of giving them what they wanted just to shut them up. Miscreant, yeah. It's a neighbor's dog. They almost never shut up. And it gets irritating. But after a while, I'm able to tune it out. It just depends. Is there anything else that you few watching would like to discuss? I'm just enjoying sitting out here having some people to talk to right now. In the meantime, a quick update. My brother got a motorcycle. It's a little Honda, and I think motorcycles are cool, and I think they're fun, but I can't help but feel a little worried every time I know he's out there on it, because I know a lot of drivers don't pay attention to motorcycles, or they act like motorcycles are not as important. Yes, green. It can be dangerous, but my brother is very smart about it. He always wears his helmet and a motorcycle vest, full-length pants, and riding boots. So I know that at least he's taking the steps he can to protect himself. But I just worry that some moron in a bigger vehicle might not pay attention. My neighbor actually got sideswiped by a big truck while he was on his motorcycle. Amazingly, his injuries were just 1 or 2 broken bones, I believe. But he was fine. And I'm just hoping that that never happens to my brother. My dad also got a motorcycle too, so kind of happy for them that they get to go riding together as father and son. But the drivers around here are terrible. They think they're the only ones that matter, and that their right of way is the only way. And a lot of them don't pay attention to the speed limit. Like, I always try to stick to the speed limit. I don't go over it. And I get a lot of cars that will get right on my bumper, it seems like, to where I can make out the facial features on them from looking in my rearview mirror. And I just get concerned anytime I know that someone I care about is out driving. My husband's family has not had a whole lot of luck with car accidents. Matt has had to say goodbye to multiple family members because of car accidents, and so we always try to be as careful and alert as we can, and we try not to trust the other drivers to make the right decisions or give us adequate warning before they do something. But in today's world, it's almost impossible to go your whole life without being in a car accident in one form or another. And there's just so much risk whenever you're away from home now. It's crazy. Hi, new person. I don't know how to pronounce your username, so I'm just gonna call you Uvu, if that's okay with you. I actually do think Hummers are cool, especially if they're painted camouflage, like military grade. Otherwise, I have fun driving my dad's big truck. It's a Dodge Ram 2500 with a Cummins turbo diesel engine. It's got a 6-inch lift kit, and so I feel very safe whenever I'm driving that. I know that if I get hit, I should be fine. But I just wonder about all the people that drive those little cars, like the Fiats or the Mini Coopers or the smart cars. Like, how do you feel safe on the road when almost every other vehicle out there is bigger than you? That's just something I wonder. David, yeah, motorcycles are pretty fun. I've never driven a motorcycle, and I've never had interest. But I do remember one time when my dad had one before he got his current one. He took me for a ride, and it was around an abandoned parking lot, and I thought it was really fun. But I don't possess the confidence to want to get a motorcycle for myself. Yeah, Uvu and Miss Grant, there are a ton of crazy drivers out there, and a lot of people do consider it a hobby. And as long as you take all steps to be responsible and to make sure that you're protected, you should be okay. But not when other drivers are on the road. It's always a gamble. There's a lot of people that tailgate or slam on their brakes or make a sudden turn without signaling first, or they try to cut in front of you just because they want to be in front of you. They don't want to get stuck behind you. There's a lot of danger to learning how to drive, and it makes me terrified for the day that Matt and I are adoptive parents having to teach our kids how to drive. My mom taught me how to drive, and she did a great job. But driving now is not as safe as it used to be. So I just wonder how it's going to be when I have to teach a kid to drive. It's going to be weird. I'm probably going to be praying constantly. um, David, oh wow. So your friend had an accident, woke up in the hospital after being in a coma, and he asked his dad where his arms were. Was he an amputee, or were his arms just under the blanket? Yeah, Miss Green, I'm wondering if he lost his arms too. Hopefully not, because that would be horrible. I can't imagine losing a limb. And I've never even broken any bones. Oh, David, that's horrible for your friend. Having to have both arms amputated at the shoulders. I cannot imagine what that must have been like for him. I can't imagine how life is for him now. It's horrible. Whenever I see an amputee, I automatically feel more respect for them and hope that their lives are better. Oh, David, your friend passed away after that? That's horrible. Ugh. Things like that just go to show you that accidents happen all the time. And while you can take steps to be prepared, there's never going to be enough steps to be fully prepared for anything. There's always other variables, like other people. And it's just terrifying. Oh, I just got a battery notification that I'm at 15%. So I better get in the house and plug it into a charger. Gotta get my stuff, go inside. Maybe I'll try to eat something now too. I do hate to go in the house. The weather is uncommonly nice right now. At least it feels that way. And Sadie's probably on my parents' bed. Where's my Sadie? Sadie's right here. Her favorite spots. Look like she belongs in an old-fashioned oil painting. Hi, Sadie. You're a pretty girl. You're a pretty girl. I love you. No, I'm totally not someone obsessed with my dog. Yeah, David, riding a motorcycle or driving any motorized vehicle is always going to have some element of danger, but some things are more dangerous than others. Yeah, if you fall at the bike at 70 miles an hour. Thank you, David. There's my good girl. You're so pretty. You're so pretty. You want to say hi? More kisses. What? One thing I love about her, she looks like she has a black mustache. She wants like a hamster or a guinea pig or a cat. Yeah, David. Oh, you're a truck driver. That's gotta be crazy. I've heard stories about the Autobahn, and it has made me decide I never want to be on there. Drivers in LA or bad. The Autobahn got to be a lot scarier. I'm getting pretty hungry right now, and it looks like I've only got one of you watching, so I'm gonna go. If you guys want me to do live streams like this on a regular basis, let me know in the comments and I'll try to do it regularly. But until then, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.